So to begin, an update on the situation in Syria. The United States unequivocally condemns the violence. All parties must step back and engage in meaningful dialogue that leads to a lasting ceasefire.
I want to follow up with what you said. The president spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu. He just issued a statement to say he's very sorry about targeting, or not targeting, but by attacking this church. He said it was done by mistake. But the State Department and the White House put a priority on protecting minorities, especially Christians. How can you make sure that Christians in Gaza are protected? We have 3 people dead, including 88-year-old woman from Ayad family. And to make sure that these people are not actually targeted, but as the Prime Minister said, because there have been many incidents before, Tammy, as you know, they targeted the Russian Orthodox Church before.
Yes, well, in this case, of course, it was an accident. I think that the response from Netanyahu is an appropriate start. Of course, we share condolences to the citizens, the civilians' deaths at the Roman Catholic Church. We have asked that Israel investigate the strike still, of course, and ensure that all civilians, including Christian civilians, remain safe. That's one of our, of course, regular asks of everyone as we try to stop war and engage with ceasefires because of the horrible dynamics that exist across the world when this goes on. There's no benefit to this, any kind of military action, no real benefit at all. So Israel did express a deep sorrow over the damage and over any civilian casualties, and the IDF, they do note, is investigating. And of course, for further information, we refer you to the government of Israel. I can tell you, as I think Caroline also noted, that President Trump also spoke to the Prime Minister. And I think it's an understatement to say that he was not happy, that this is, again, the kind of thing that reinforces his commitment to peace around the world. I've spoken with the Secretary today at length on a number of issues. Obviously, everyone is appalled. I can tell you, for those who haven't seen it and for those at home, the Israeli Foreign Ministry has said, Israel expresses deep sorrow over the damage to the Holy Family Church in Gaza City and over any civilian casualty. The IDF is examining the incident, the circumstances of which is still unclear, and the results of the investigation will be published transparently. Israel never targets churches or religious sites and regrets any harm to a religious site or to uninvolved civilians. The IDF has a statement as well. The IDF is aware of reports regarding damage caused to the Holy Family Church in Gaza City and casualties at the scene. The circumstances of the incident are under review. The IDF makes every feasible effort to mitigate harm to civilians and civilian structures, including religious sites, and regrets any damage caused to them. So this is, I think, a good indication of their realizing what the world expects, what we expect, and of course appreciating POTUS's contact as well, which is helpful for all of us.
I just want to understand, my colleagues asked about this yesterday, but did you guys get to the bottom of the misunderstanding that Secretary Rubio talked about yesterday? We see it in a different wording again today in Ambassador Barak's tweet or post. Confusion. What was this misunderstanding, and did the U.S. government intervene in a way to assure that this misunderstanding will not happen going forward again?
You seem a little skeptical, but I don't know if I know some people at home can see some of the reporters here in the first 2 rows.
I guess that's a prerequisite in this job.
Yeah, yes, perhaps it is. But for those who don't know, the language from Ambassador Barak's tweet: thankful to all sides for their break from chaos and confusion as we attempt to navigate all parties to a more durable and peaceful solution in Syria. And I noted to you already the language from the Secretary. The confusion, as was conveyed to me and was, I think, generally understood, was this ancient rivalry between the Druze and the Bedouins and violence ensuing. The Syrians moving to that area to quell and stop that violence, and the Israelis who see that occurring to the Druze community and their concerns, then entered what they assessed was something larger than what, or even not what it was at all. I am not a party to the full discussions or to the details of obviously of all of these groups and nations, what their choices were. But when the secretary chose and the president chose to use the word miscommunication or misunderstanding, obviously here now from the ambassador, chaos and confusion. The good news is, the story is, it stopped as within the management of that larger conflict. Again, there's still skirmishes and other issues that, as we've also noted, the Syrian government is going to have to lead. With obviously there'll be other involvements, but lead into this de-escalation and to the stability. So this is a reminder, and you weren't here, but as I noted to one of your colleagues who asked as well yesterday, that this is a region and certainly a nation that has been unstable, which is why we talk about stability, for generations. There have been rivalries for hundreds of years. We are optimistic people. Humans tend to be that. And our effort is to try to bring this together and to stop it. The answer to whether or not there's hope is the fact that there has been a response, that the parties have acquiesced and are dealing with that response, and that we are committed to seeing this problem that emerged, and now we know what to work on to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Right. My follow-up to that is related to something that you just said. U.S. is pursuing stability in Syria, as far as I can tell, lifting of the sanctions and...
I promise you that's what we're pursuing.
Right.
Yes.
So does it support Israel carrying out these military operations when it deems necessary?
I can tell you regarding Israel's intervention and activity is the United States did not support recent Israeli strikes. We are engaging diplomatically with Israel and Syria at the highest levels, both to address the present crisis and reach a lasting agreement between the two sovereign states. President Trump has outlined his clear vision of a prosperous Middle East and stable Syria at peace with itself and its neighbors. Peace among neighbors, including Israel and Syria, is a critical component of this vision. So I won't speak to future conversations or past ones. What we're dealing with now is this particular episode, what was required. And I think we've been very clear about our displeasure. Certainly the president has, and we've worked very quickly to have it stop.
Just one more point. I mean, one of the points that Israel is making is that there are jihadists involved in this, and that some of the violence has been against Druze. Is there any concern about linkages potentially between the Syrian government and?
Well, I know that from the beginning, the issue was, of course, working with the new Syrian government on dealing with the problem of ISIS. That's I think, a unifying dynamic. We know that ISIS has been an issue. We know in that region, my goodness, look at what we've been facing with Iran and state sponsors of terrorism, and what we've all experienced for quite some time. So we know that has to be part of which I won't preview anything for you because I'm not a part of that team, but we know that matters deeply to Envoy Barak. And everyone is clear-eyed about what this is. And yet it won't stop them from trying. But the good news is that the good and the bad news is that we have enough history to know what's solvable, what isn't. I recall before President Trump's first term that this idea of getting rid of ISIS as it was moving around the globe, that it was going to be impossible. It would take 30 years. This is just a giant, horrible thing that we would just have to learn to adapt to, but it could never be crushed. President Trump did not believe that and chose to move forward anyway. And I think it was about 18 months, 2 years at the most, and he eradicated ISIS. And so we know that there's in order for something new to happen, you've got to have the idea first. We have that. Again, we're not naive, but we are optimistic. I think that is the history of the American people. And we're going to continue on that. We have good representatives helping us with that as well.
To the situation where the 500 tons of high-energy biscuits are set to expire in a warehouse in the Middle East. The statement from the department yesterday said that the U.S. would always look to try to avoid any kind of food waste, try to repurpose it. Is there any indication that repurposing might happen at this point?
Well, there's a lot of interesting numbers that have been moving about with this story. There's some basic responses I can give you, including the fact that if something is expired, we will destroy it. It's a matter of whether or not it's safe to distribute. But I think what's important and what part of the story is here, and a lot of people don't know this, is that we have been feeding the world's hungry for generations. And we've done it because we can. The issue is are we doing it as efficiently as we can and as smartly as we can? We, as an example, distribute roughly 1 million metric tons of food aid every year, which is reflective of the American people's generosity. Of the 1 million tons of food distributed annually by the United States, 500 metric tons of high-energy biscuits also is part of what your question is in the news has been that they were destroyed. And they were expired, and yet that 500 metric tons represents less than 1% of the food aid that we distribute around the world. I would also note the difference in its situation why those biscuits were stored. Americans don't realize, perhaps many do, that we store emergency food all around the world for people in the event of a catastrophe in that region. So we have food that we purchase and it goes to, let's say, the World Food Program or to another distributor assigned to specific sites for distribution. And then we have food that is assigned to be held in the event of an emergency. Those are emergency frameworks, and they are not distributed. They're there in the event that obviously something horrible happens and you need that kind of nutrition. That's where those biscuits were. That was 500 metric tons of what they say HEB, high energy biscuits, and that is less than 1% of the food aid that we distribute, as I've mentioned. The best analogy I can use is that I think most of us have, I do, I'll just refer to myself, a lot of batteries in a battery carrier that I don't use, that they're there in the event of an emergency and the electricity is down, and I know what needs batteries and what doesn't need batteries. And if you wait long enough and there's no emergency, they start to do weird things. They start to sometimes bubble over and get a little corroded.
That's why you should use candles.
That's right. Candles, perfect in earthquake country also. Yes. Batteries, though, we have them. They're situated. Other survival stuff, you situate it, and then you have to get rid of it if fortunately you don't have to use it. That's this story. The story here is the nature of the commitment of the United States to food aid, which we all commit to, but also still, like everything else, doing it more efficiently, with less expense, but with the same framework. So yes, I mean there's a dynamic there where we're going to destroy and we have before the emergency food rations in particular that might expire, and then replenish that.
So
Deputy Secretary Regas did say yesterday on the Hill that this was something that he found distressing. He said it appears to be a failure. Just this dynamic here, is there any effort within the department now to look at expiration dates at those warehouses around the world that are hosting these high energy biscuits and make sure that a dynamic like this doesn't happen again in the spirit of efficiency?
Yes, DMR Regas, he's a deputy secretary here at the State Department. He said a number of other things indicating, and I'll read part of his testimony to you as well in this regard. He said, we're still the biggest giver of aid anywhere in the world by far. So this is a media account, so I'd want to look into, forgive me if I don't take everything in the media that's reported as 100% factual, but I do want to find out what happened here and get to the ground truth. So the fact is that what I've described to you is the case. The numbers that are being reported are wildly incorrect without the context of what the food is there for. It is, considering the nature of the situation, I would say that this, if the implication there was that this was due to the USAID action or a pause or something, I would say that is incorrect. But the deputy, I think, noted the fact that there's a number of things that can affect this, and I've described some of them to you. At the same time, we are involved in looking at all of our systems. That's been the case from really day one. That's been a commitment of the Secretary, not just of aid technically and the structure of the building, which we've been just through, changing that for more efficiency. But that is, I think, a hallmark of what matters to Secretary Rubio and something that we will continue to do, which inevitably would address this dynamic as well. But I have to say, for 1%, when you are moving 1 million metric tons of food around the world every year, for 1% to be the factor that has to get destroyed is a remarkable record. And if there is a suggestion that we're not doing it right or we're not doing enough, it is fair to say that we will not be lectured about the issue of food aid or what we do for the rest of the world, being the world's largest supporter of people with food and other aid. We have been, we are now, and we will be.
Actually related to
Sure.
this topic in a way. Yesterday, Tom Fletcher, the UN Emergency Relief Coordinator, and Catherine Russell, the Executive Director of UNICEF, they basically told the UN Security Council, they painted a horrific picture of how children are suffering in Gaza. They're saying that, the war is going on, but the children are bearing the brunt of it. There's about 17,000 kids have been killed since the beginning of the war. They spoke of no water or no clean water. They spoke of waterborne diseases because it's not clean and so on. No fuel. The hospitals are not working.
Saeed, we know. War is horrible. We know.
Yeah,
we know.
And she said that, like on daily basis, 28 kids get killed, since October 7 until now on average.
Yes, it's horrible. It's horrible. He has a question, though. We'll get to it right now, I trust.
My question to you.
Yes.
Is the United States government happy with the level of aid that is going on, the level of water that's going on, the level of fuel that is going
All right.
in, or are we likely to see some changes that will
yes,
impact
I understand.
the lives of kids?
Saeed, in every war, in every conflict that is going on this day, someone is suffering, someone is being killed, a child is suffering, a child is dying. We've seen the images. That is one of the issues we talked yesterday about the immediacy of media. We now see those images. I remember growing up and we were shocked that we could see some of the footage of the combat in Vietnam. That was a turning point I was a child, I had no idea. My mother was appalled. And things now, you get it on your phone in a moment. We know the suffering. I have this conversation with you, Saeed, every time I see you. We're both, I understand your concern. I've committed my time in this season to address that as well, as have everyone else in this building, as have Americans. We're proud of being Americans because of what we've been able to accomplish for the world. What I can say is that it is, I think you used the word happy. Of course we're not happy. Who's happy with these developments? It's war. It is, while it is common, it is unnatural. It's an obscene display of what humans are capable of. And that is why we work to stop it. And the people who aren't stopping it are Hamas. So when you think about why this continues in the Gaza Strip and organizations who are condemning the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation and their delivery of over 70 million meals at this point, the fact is there is one group responsible, and that's Hamas. They are still holding dead bodies. They're still holding live people. They are still murdering people. So if the onus is on us trying to move through that obscene environment, and we do what we can, which will never be enough. Saeed, I don't know if it's because you want me to repeat this or if you forget what I say. It is worth repeating sometimes. That we understand this, and it's why we do what we do. It's why the president is passionate, why the secretary is passionate, and why I stand at this podium, and why all of you are in this room, because we don't like much of what we see. We have successes sometimes, but of course it's not good enough, and it won't be, because the only time children will have exactly what they need is when Hamas is gone, when the terrorists are not controlling a swath of land, and when peace is generated by a government that its people have chosen and is not based in the inhumane slaughter of people.
Your colleague at the White House spoke to the president's expectations following his 50 days deadline. My question is about Russia's reaction in these 3 days. There's no sign of any different, behavior. Instead, they did, issue a nuclear threat. They questioned president's motives. And Russian foreign minister today said that we are not accepting any threats. So what makes the president, the administration, believe that next 47 days will be any different?
Well, I can't read their mind, and I won't begin to try to think of what they might be thinking. I don't know what I'm going to be thinking tomorrow. You never know. But what I can say is that obviously they've expressed their displeasure with how things have been so far, which in part led to this new structure that we're looking at, including the 50 days. Regarding any kind of nuclear commentary or preemptive strikes, et cetera, let's just say that rhetoric does not improve regional security. And of course, as President Trump has said, the word nuclear should not be treated casually. And we have seen these kinds of reckless and unhelpful statements before. So it's not something I can preview for you regarding what might happen or might not happen. But the good news is that the world knows the nature and the attitude and the values of President Trump and the Secretary and of the American government. And we also, of course, remain committed, as we have, to Ukraine and to ending that situation peacefully, hopefully through diplomacy, as the president has been committed to.
On that line, last week, this day, the secretary met with Lavrov, and he signaled quote-unquote new, different approach from Russia. The fact the president moved forward with his own, deadline, does that mean that you guys have rejected what Lavrov after?
I can't speak to that. I can't address that at all. But I would caution again, drawing conclusions because of what someone else may have said or if a phone call happened. These are very deliberate individuals, the men and women making decisions, engaging in these things. We know what's at stake. We know why they're doing it. It's about life and death, and who's alive today, who might not be tomorrow. They're aware of everything, and the choices they'll make will be the right.
On the same topic of Ukraine, we've seen the president earlier this week. He had Secretary General of NATO in the Oval Office. I know that he often repeats that this is that he views this as Biden's war and a war that wouldn't have happened had President Trump been president. But do you think that we're seeing any kind of a pivot or a greater investment from the Secretary Rubio and President Trump in the outcome in Ukraine, particularly since the NATO meeting and this idea that 6 months in, his view is stated many times is that the war would not have happened had he been president, but now 6 months in, there's an opportunity to make an impact or to own the future of what happens in Ukraine?
Well, I know that the first thing that drives the president and that the cabinet, including the Secretary of State, follows is the vision of the president and how to approach these issues in which they agree. I can just reiterate for people from the president who said on the 14th, we're very, very unhappy with Russia. I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. I speak to him a lot about getting this thing done. And I always hang up and say, well, that was a nice phone call. And then missiles launch into Kyiv or some other city. And after that happens 3 or 4 times, you say, the talk doesn't mean anything. So that is the president speaking quite transparently about his assessment of things, allowing the American people and the world to understand that his patience, he is a very patient man, and he's a realist, and he's going to be honest. And the arrangements and the conversations, certainly with Secretary General Rutte and NATO in general, the plans in which to make sure that Ukraine has what it needs defensively. But I think the president is someone who will make these decisions and continues to approach it aggressively so that his vision of this conflict ending will come to pass.